Good morning, nerds. This is the A to Z podcast. I'm Zach Jackson. He's Andre Knott. Cleveland Scene, Honeymoon Grill, American Fireworks help make this happen. A to Z podcast.com, facebook.com/A to Z podcast. Give us a like if you haven't already, and follow us on all your favorite social media accounts, or at least most of them. We don't want to know what some of you do online. At Dre Knott, at Akron Jackson. Dre Knott, good morning.
Good afternoon, sunshine. Happy to everybody. I'm actually somewhere where the sun is out, so you may get a sunnier. You might get a sunnier position for me than usual.
It's not here, so we kind of had a window today of when we want to do this, and we apologize if it ends up being a little short. But we had talked, and then when we actually got the phone connection about 30 seconds ago, we were talking about what we've been doing, what we will be doing, and I said I apologize. I didn't even know where you were until 2 hours ago. And Dre, your response was, "Well, I didn't either."
It's true. It really is true. I'm not here to be one of those guys that complains, but when you travel the way that you have to travel in this job, there's a certain times you hear noises in a hotel and you're like, where am I laying down at? Where am I at?
What in the world is going on?
I was Boston earlier this week, and now it's Chicago. And the crazy thing is I feel like I was just in the same hotel room like a month ago. So when I got in the room last night at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, I looked around and was like, I've made some stupid decisions, but am I in the same room I was just in like a month ago?
So I got to tell this story, speaking of things that are weird. So if you guys are listeners, you know my brother lives over not far from Pittsburgh. Hey, gosh, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago now, a good friend of mine was in a family wedding in Pittsburgh. So we had kind of talked, he and my brother. And if I was able to get free, I was going to go over there for the night. My brother was going to meet me. We ended up Priceline and or hotels.com, something like that. We got a cheap room. We stayed in downtown Pittsburgh, and then when the wedding activities were over, we met up with my friend who comes from a family of like, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 9 kids. So I know a bunch of his brothers and their whole family, and we end up having a good night. And obviously it was just me and my brother for a while while they were doing the formal activities. And I don't think I said this, Dre, on the podcast. I might have. I kind of made a mental note. It was a Friday night, downtown Pittsburgh in May, and I saw a Browns Odell Beckham jersey. And it was just like, whoa, because Pittsburgh, you see, they wear the jerseys all year round. There were Penguins jerseys everywhere. They'd been eliminated for 3 weeks at the time, right? There were Steelers jerseys spanning many eras, and that's just kind of what they do over there. And obviously, even if you go to a game and you're wearing Browns colors, it's kind of dangerous. So here it was, 9 o'clock or so, downtown Pittsburgh, right in the thick of everything, and just seeing it was kind of bizarre. And we talked about it. And anyway, we had a good night. So the other day on Memorial Day, I caught up with my friend and a bunch of his brothers, including the groom of the wedding, and they told a story that just made me crap my pants, Larry Nance, and made me, when I got done spitting my White Claw out, I said, I have to tell this on the podcast. And they said, so that, the ceremony's going on. And I don't know his wife, but I'm assuming it was in downtown Pittsburgh because she's from there, right? I don't think they randomly, some people that grew up in Northern Summit County randomly picked, and they live in Northern Summit County randomly picked Pittsburgh. Well, anyway, they said the best man speech is going on, and there's this noise. And all of a sudden, everyone looks, and a guy at the head table who's had too much to drink is doing a Baker Mayfield chant during the best man speech in a wedding in downtown Pittsburgh. They said everybody's looking at him, and the speech just stops, and there he is chanting Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield. And it's a footnote. You don't know the people. It's not all that funny, but and we've been careful to point out that the Browns have not won shit yet, right? But it marks such a shift in philosophy. And I think, just for the most fun part, especially in our jobs where we don't really care who wins, specifically most of the time, I just think it's great for the Browns and great for everyone listening here if the rivalry is back. It's on the Browns to do that. I've said many times, November 14th is when they can validate all this talk. But that's something that over the last 10 to 20 years, wouldn't have happened, those two things, right? The jersey and the chant. And you hear it, and it's just like, wow, that's really good. I'm going to pass that along.
Yeah, it's been non-existent, and I think you said a key thing there. I don't disagree that it's cool to hear, and it's fun, and I smile. And I had a childhood friend DM me yesterday during a game, and we were just talking. You do the whole, how's your family, how's this, how's that. He's like, hey, enjoy these Indians wins. He made like one of those jokes. That should be the title of this podcast. And then he went on to say, we were just talking about the Browns and just growing up in Northeast Ohio, how you have this, glass half full or glass half empty, viewpoint of the Browns. He's like, I just want the season to start. I'm sick of hearing, I'm almost, what the media is doing and everything is doing, it's almost scaring me because, well, I grew up in Northeast Ohio. It's funny all the emotions we have, but the key thing that you said, they got to prove it on that day. Like the rivalry isn't the rivalry because we have a quarterback or because you have a wide receiver that has an orange $300,000 car that no one in Cleveland could ever afford, but it's the right color, so he's with you. But until they win a game against the Steelers and then compete in another, and in both games they compete, and that's a weird thing to say. The Pittsburgh people are still laughing at us. Like they're still like, okay, sure, whatever. You guys got a new toy. We come here every year. You guys, you keep saying you're coming. Are you? And it's fine. And the fans, hey, as a fan, that's short for fanatical. So you should be going crazy about it. But it don't mean a thing until you walk off the field and you see them with their heads held low because they lost.
No doubt. And I think we all know that. It was one of those things. Like, obviously, when you've been around the Browns for as long as I have, you see all the jerseys, right? And
oh yeah.
Phil Savage used to talk about it openly. Like
right,
our goal,
yeah.
like we're not in the jersey sales business, but we got to get to where guys are where people are buying the new jerseys, right? Where people are buying the quarterback's jersey, and he's the quarterback for a long time. Think about it. We're going on 15 years since we had these conversations, right? And it never happened.
That's true.
And in Pittsburgh, you go and look. And I was just actually talking to Tom Reed a couple of weeks ago. Like, I don't think anywhere besides Baltimore do they wear the jerseys like that. You go to a Ravens game, and, yeah, you see the new ones.
Yeah.
But, man, you see this whole kind of golden era that they've had. It's not just Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs and Ed Reed, right?
No.
You see Michael McCrary jerseys, right?
Right.
You see Jermaine Lewis and Jamal Lewis jerseys. You see Stoney freaking Case jerseys, right? And then that's more Brownsian than anything.
Right.
But it was notable. Like I said, I think we were both kind of standing at the same bar at opposite ends. And I was like, Brody, do you believe that there is a guy wearing an Odell Beckham jersey in downtown Pittsburgh? And he goes, I cannot believe what I'm seeing.
Brody said, does he have a kilt on?
And then I looked at Brody and I said, I can't believe you're wearing a shirt. You're so grown up now. But anyway.
Not far off from the truth, people. Not far off from the truth.
No, the funniest stories are always the true ones, right? So,
all right, good story. Good way to start. NBA Finals start tonight. We both agree that we won't have big conversations about it because Game 2 will come up on Sunday, and we know everybody's time runs differently, and we understand that, and we appreciate your guys' patience. There's a lot of other things we can talk about, but I got to mention this because it just hit me because I got the TV on with no volume. Obviously, LeBron didn't make the playoffs this year. First time, speaking of 15 years, that you don't see the king doing what the king does best, supposedly, because that's what he tells you. But I can tell you one thing that's been very awkward for me or very weird for me, and my age is different. I'm in my 40s now. I move a little bit slower now. I see things through a couple different lenses now. I got to tell you, social media LeBron in the offseason when the playoffs are still going, not my favorite guy. He's not a guy that comes off as a guy that is just more like. And look, there's an awkwardness to all people at different stages. There's an awkwardness to social media. To me, when you're a father, when you're more than just, and we all are this, but when you're more than just the billionaire basketball player, the cookouts in the backyard and showing a bunch of guys sitting around smoking cigars. Like I would. That's something I would expect to see from like my 25-year-old nephew and cousins, not a 30-plus-year-old. But I guess that's the world we live in. What I'm admitting is I'm not saying that LeBron is wrong for this. It just comes off odd to me. But maybe that's because I grew up in an era of Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Dan Marino, and you just didn't see these guys. They didn't have social media. I'm saying something out loud. He just is social media awkward, in my opinion. That's where I'll leave it.
Well, right. I want to say tone deaf. I'm not sure that's a thing.
That's a good one.
I'm not sure that's an all the way right thing is what I meant to say. I want to say sit this one out. I'm not LeBron's boss, right? But right. Look, 8 straight finals, is up there for one guy, is up there with the Warriors, win or lose this series, and I think we both agree they're going to win this series, right? It'd make for hell of an interesting discussion if we sit here 2 weeks from now and they didn't. But this is historic stuff. And he volunteered to walk away from that. And his team didn't even make the playoffs. So sit this one out, right?
Right. Lay low. Go be dad. Go to the AAU games. I think the coolest thing about LeBron, I'm saying that because this isn't a bash LeBron thing. I'm not like we're not like 90% of the people that you hear on radio and television that feel like you got to bash or suck off one or the other. To me, in real life, we all have pluses and minuses, and we should be able to be adults and talk about them. I do like seeing him as a dad, a basketball dad. That's not, just a basketball dad. That's pulling the Reggie Jackson, not the one that hit home runs in October, but yelling motherfucker at referees. That LeBron I like because that normalizes him. Like that normalizes him. He seems like I don't mind that guy. As a matter of fact, that guy to me is a guy that should be shown more. A guy that just goes to his son's basketball games, but to sit in the backyard with the outrageous King things in the background, and you rapping songs like you're in high school with Tristan Thompson, and people are mocking you left and right. That's not King-like, man. That's 17-year-old LeBron at St. V to me. I think that's to me, it's like, and I who am I to tell somebody? I can be an idiot at times as well. I put pictures up of my kids on social media, and then you may see me eating crickets on social media. I just think that when you're in the spot that he is, like you said, you didn't make the playoffs for the first time in a long time. Not all your fault. You're not going through the finals for the first time in 8 years. Not all your fault. But let's lay low a little bit. Maybe let's give it till after Memorial Day before you show your ass. Yeah, man, I kind of agree. There's a lot. Yeah, just sit this one out. Right. First of all, we'll get to congrats, but congrats to the Raptors because, yes, they had to go get Kawhi to do it, but they made a really, really, really bold move. LeBron leaving obviously helped, but that organization had been hexed and defeated for a long time by that guy, right? And they went out and did it. Yeah, so he's in an interesting spot because, as we've said many times, there has never, ever been, and social media has something to do with this, not all to do with this, because LeBron played in the NBA for a long time before he got on social media. 7 years, if my public school math is correct, right? There's never been a current athlete hold that much power in terms of the business of sports, being involved with all the things, the agency, the soccer team, all of that stuff. So it is a little bit unprecedented, and he has earned that King label. But man, he's still a player, and as we've said many times, like that's the tiring part. There's many tiring parts about LeBron, but that to me is the real tiring part. Did you want to be a player or not? Right? Because just be that. And every time you want to have an honest discussion about LeBron, it comes back to two things. One, he has done things that we haven't seen. And even if they're not completely unprecedented, they've done as well as has ever been done. Right? For sure. And for two, especially here, two fat kids from Akron talking about it, he has done numerous things off the court to make our communities better, multiple communities, right? So that's always part of it. But I think it's more than fair, LeBron at 34 years old playing in the NBA, voluntarily walking away from that streak that stands among any in sports. It's more than fair to say, because someone brought this up to me, and I don't think I've said this on the podcast. It's one thing to be a producer and want to be a movie star and be involved in all that. Who would turn that down? Who in any walk of life would turn that down unless it's just not your personality? But guess what this person said to me? Isn't the next show that any of them make that's good going to be the first? Has any of The Barbershop is the worst fucking television show I've ever seen in my life. I love the concept. I love the thought of unfiltered athletes, notable names, guys that have made it in more than just sports, more than just music, more than just entertainment, right? But have you ever watched that and thought it's anything but cringeworthy? No. It is, and it's a great idea, but it's forced. It's awful. It's awful. Yes, it's very forced. It's very, but you know what they don't realize yet? And this is something all kids should realize. They're allowing LeBron to produce and put these shows out while he's still LeBron. In 10 years, do you think the Barbershop will be around or any show like that? Do you think some production company is going to hand him a check and say, go do whatever you want? Yeah. The only how he's, like that, he's striking while everything is hot. That's what you tell everybody to do. He's a hot commodity right now. HBO's taking a swing for the fences. Why would they not? When you consider how TV is changing and how cable packages are changing left and right daily, and how people are going away from cable. Right now, HBO's in a spot where they got to try anything they can to keep the attention upon them. I get that, and I don't think they're wrong for that. I think that's smart business. That's how business works. But to me, in 15 years, you're not going to see LeBron James. Maybe not. But I doubt he's going to be a mogul in the TV movie business. I think they use his name right now because it's a hot name, and why would you not? I think in any business situations, you have to pay attention to, why does this company really want me right now? I don't know if LeBron has anyone around him to say that to him that way, honestly, and that scares me. But that scares me with all people that are in big business, because usually, you got to strike when the iron's hot. I don't blame them, but I'd be very careful of what I would agree to doing and not doing. But this is his life. He'll figure it out. He's a king, right?
Quick question, and I feel a little bit guilty that I didn't bring this up because I know what kind of week you've had. Are you aware of the LeBron Jr. video that got on the internet?
Is that real?
Sure looks real to me.
Dude, I don't know what's real and what's not real anymore with how these people are on social media, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's part of a larger discussion that we've had for a long time. And as you know, we've been invited many places. We're honored every time to go out and talk about our experiences and social media and all that. And what's the first thing I always say? Guys, let me talk to you. Not let me lecture you, because when I was your age, if there had been social media, I'd have been in a lot of trouble.
Right. I'd have been in you. We both would.
I'd have said a lot of dumb shit.
No doubt.
I think that's a product of two things. One, obviously, kids being kids.
Right.
Another, it's a product of how we talk to each other and what we feed our kids on social media, on YouTube, in music, all of those things. And hopefully what it is, and again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but hopefully it's a great lesson for LeBron to grab Bronny and say, okay, this is good because we got this out of the way, right?
Right.
It's not fair for you to be 13, 14 years old and have to live your life away from this when you're growing up in the cell phone camera generation. But we named you LeBron James Jr. You've stuck with that name. You've chosen basketball. Right. We do that. I put myself out here, so therefore you are out here. This is unavoidable. And this shit can't fly because it's just not a good look. So hopefully. It's
not a good look. You're right. And I don't disagree or digress with you say, I named you LeBron James, because that's not that kid's fault. And that kid really, if he really did it, because I'm going to tell you, I'm 50-50 on if that was really his words. But regardless, it's a great lesson, because it got into LeBron's house in Brentwood. Regardless, it's a great lesson as to who you are, what you are, and everything you do will be looked at and will be underneath the magnifying glass for the rest of your life.
Right.
And whether you like it or not, that's just a place in life you've been placed. Right. And then, of course, I put the golden tag upon you by putting my name on you. Everything you do is under a microscope. And I think it's a lesson to all of us. And hell, the first thing I thought was I was embarrassed for LeBron James and his family, because like you said, could you imagine at 13 what you and I would have been like on Snapchat or somewhere else? You telling me we wouldn't have said some stupid shit or sang some two-chord song?
I was about that age the first time I ever heard those words. I can tell you that. I threw a little party / bonfire. And somebody brought over Dr. Dre, The Chronic. And I was like, the what? The who and the what?
Shit.
I mean, I can tell you for sure that's the first time I ever heard the N-word was right there in my backyard that night. I'm not sure I knew what a dime bag was. I probably played along. That's the first time I had ever heard that discussed, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it is totally different, and kids have to know. I got buddies that go through it that have kids that are adults in number only, that have social media accounts, that seek social media validation, followership, that have a few drinks, whether they're 21 or not. Click that live button and away they go. To the point that I don't even tattle on them. I just say, I can't believe they do this.
I'll take it a step further. My older sister has a son who's doing great. Both of her sons are doing great. But he's doing music in Atlanta. And we all know I can see people roll their eyes. But he's actually doing pretty good so far. And he's an idiot on social media, in his uncle's opinion. But I'm 41 years old, and I don't think about life like he does. He's actually made some records. He's actually doing all right. But every post he has as in with some connotation of smoking weed, which I get in 2019 or whatever, 21. It's a little, what year are we? It's 19. I know it's a little bit more not as risque as it maybe it was for me growing up, but I cringe. And finally, I said something to my sister during spring break or during spring training, and she laughed, and she's like, you know what? She's like, I don't even follow him on social media. She goes, I know of it. She goes, I know how to find it if I really want to look. She goes, but it's just, she goes, I'm at that point now where I don't need to see everything he does on social media, because if I do, I'll be trying to parent him every day of the rest of my life. And she's like, that's not what I'm here for. She goes, I don't like everything he's done. I told him it doesn't make me, smile happily, but it's his life. He's 21 years old. What am I going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like this, kids. I only follow baseball from afar. But we're 60 games into the season, and I haven't heard Josh Hader's name. I only know it because of last year's incident, right?
Wow. That's a great point.
Like there's all sorts of kids that give scholarships away and give jobs away. And again, we're not going to give away our social media lecture because shit, we should start charging. But,
no kidding.
If you have a video that's going to live forever, let it be of you sitting the other way at the head table at the wedding chanting Baker Mayfield when you're 35, not when you're 17.
Well, at 35, that's a little bit. 35, that's a little ridiculous too, to be honest. But it doesn't surprise me.
Well, what advice did Marshall Mathers? Could we send him to him? Will Smith don't have to cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do. So fuck him and fuck you too. One of the great lines in rap history.
Oh, Detroit's finest.
Anyways,
how is that what you came back to? You sound like LeBron Jr. Do you really think that was him?
Well, put it this way.
Think that was him?
I'm 50 years old, right? And I grew up in a family where my parents cuss, and I've been cussing for a long time, and we've been saying the F word to each other for a long time. But there are words in that Bronny video that if I ever said in front of my mom, she would hook my ear at 50 and wash my mouth out with soap, right?
I'm sure LeBron's mom, if that's him, did the same thing.
Yeah. So
LeBron's mom isn't.
I'm not trying to judge the kid. I hope it's a great life lesson. I think it's just a lesson for us all.
Right.
I just cringe. I see videos. And I watch them, But the first thing you do, when something happens, a fight breaks out, someone's doing a funny moment, like everybody has their cameras out. It's bad culture, man. It is. Live.
I know. There's a video. I just saw. It's funny you say that. I saw a video last week. It's an older video. You may have seen it. I think it's in Baltimore, Maryland, where two kids, probably two junior high, young high school kids, are fighting, and an older guy stops them in the middle of the street after school, and he goes, "Stop! Look." He's like, all your friends are laughing at you. They all got their cameras out. They all are looking at you. They're all laughing. Do you think these dudes really care about you? You think these people care about you? They think you're a joke. And the video is so damning to the society that grabs the phones, laughs, and yells out "World Star" rather than braces up the fight. And don't get me wrong, I'm like you. I spend countless hours of my life on a bus, leaving a ball field, going to whatever city, looking at IG stories or watching people fight or watching stupid comics try to make people laugh. I do it too. We're all addicted. It doesn't mean it's right.
No, it's really dumb is what it is. So
it really is. You want to talk? Let's talk Toronto real quick, and then I'm gonna have to roll quickly. Then maybe we can do something else in a day or two. You want to give? I'm not gonna take your congrats from anyone. I'll say this quickly. I think that you mentioned this a little earlier. I think the Toronto situation should make every GM in the NBA show that be aggressive. If you feel something you think it can work, go do it. Yes, you may say Toronto had a one-year run, but you know what? For that country, for that town, it's a one-year run that they'll never forget because they've never been there. And so they had the right people and the right pieces put together. They were ready for the situation. They pounced upon it, and maybe they win a game or two. I really do think they have a chance to win a game or two because this is the best defense that Golden State has seen. But whether they do or whether they don't, they've had a year to remember sports-wise in Toronto because they were willing to pull the gun on a move that many people cringed at.
No doubt. And it's not just as simple as that. You have to get to that point. But, I think, Dre, for all of us old white folks, and yes, I'm speaking for all of us that sit there and say, I hate the NBA because nobody stays in one place for too long, because these guys only care about themselves and their brands and their logos and their IG shit and all of that. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. that thought or or that theory, any of those things. I'm saying when you're in the league, when you're involved, you better embrace that, right? You get a chance to go for it, you better go for it. I think we've seen that. This isn't the only case. Right. I think you can. The name of the game is to go and win that one championship. It's hard to do. Obviously, we've had a dynasty this decade. We've seen in the previous decade the same 2 or 3 teams over and over again. I think your line of thinking has to shift into let's go for it, let's do it. And, I credit the Raptors. And I think, again, this is Thursday afternoon. We're only about 4 hours from tip-off as we sit here and record, so we're not going to go too far deep. But, man, I think that place is going to be rocking, and I think it's been well-earned. And hopefully, regardless of what happens with Kawhi, this is something that they remember and that propels the organization kind of going forward. The other thing, to the players, and look, I know I take the dorky journalist side. 9 times out of 10. That's who I am. That's what I do. But when you sign these 1-year contracts, then questions about your next destination are fair game, specifically if you've left your hometown team before, right? So nobody wants to spend the playoffs, the time when winning matters over everything else, talking about who's going where next. But is this not the world we live in and the situation they've created by doing this?
I mean, Is it killing the NBA?
No, it's not at all.
Okay, then that's my answer. I know that there's a segment of people that don't like it, but that's kind of life. The lifeblood of the game is the players. That's just how it is in all sports, right? If you don't have the players, then you don't really have anything to sell. Everybody loves the game of baseball. Everybody loves the game of football and basketball. But without star players, it just ain't the same. That's some dudes that got kicked out of the hotel when the AFL or whatever that league was just said it was done. Everybody liked the game, but anybody want to pay no money to watch some has-beens play football. And that's so you're at there's give and take with this, and the give and take in basketball right now is that players have this they have the cachet, and they're going to go where they want, and some of it's good, some of it's bad. Is it weird that they were going to watch the NBA Finals, and there's not one feeling in me that thinks that we'll ever see Kawhi Leonard after these next 5-6 games ever again in a Toronto Raptors jersey? Does that make me feel great? No, but that is what sports are today.
No, you're right. You're right. Adam Silver would tell you, I think, that it's not good for business, for that discussion, Kevin Durant, Kawhi, Kyrie, to be taking place right now. But he'll also tell you the drama's good for the league in general, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to tell you proportionally. I'm not saying anything I haven't said 10 times before. Me following the drama, the proportion of doing that is way more than I watched the league from October 27th till April 10th.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, let's see. Look, I know we're short on time. Let's get to congrats here. Our new segment that's sweeping the nation, or at least the 5 or 6 of you that tweeted about us or texted it to us last time. You know what congrat is if you're a longtime listener to AZ. If not, follow the context. Don't be a dummy. You want to start or you want me to start?
No, you can start.
Okay. Let's see. Congrats to the city of Toronto, to Kawhi Leonard, to all involved. Really cool thing. Congrat to the Milwaukee Bucks, who completely collapsed. And I know Kawhi came and took it from you to an extent, but you held leads. You had home court. You had all the momentum. And this is going to be a tough one to overcome. And really, congrat on sitting at home and watching the rest of the finals.
Those are pretty good ones. I would say congrat to the Milwaukee Bucks owner's daughter. Excuse me. She came up with a great job in playing right along with the NBA logo and everything about being part of the NBA by wearing a T-shirt, a Pusha T T-shirt. If you don't know the background, basically Pusha T and Drake don't get along. They had a beef back last summer, a rap beef, if you may say, that was pretty hot amongst the kids. And her wearing a Pusha T-shirt was over the top, and it went right at Drake, and it was a middle finger to Canada. I loved it. I got to admit, as an adult, I should not be involved in this, but I love the pettiness of the NBA, and she played into it. But when you lose, the one other A to Z rule that you guys all know, in this day and age, you only get one of two things, baby. You get a ring or you get the Jordan face. So congrats to the Bucks' daughter's owner. Way to keep the fine line on what really makes the NBA tick going, but you lost. I also have to give a congrats to Drake for being a complete jackass in everything that he has been able to do to be a part of this NBA Finals. I hope that he lays back a little bit. Drake, until you make a jump shot and stop wearing everybody's teams that loses jerseys, you have no credibility. I know the NBA Finals is in your country and Canada. Congrats to you for that, but stop being a jackass. Just because you have $1 million and just because you ain't all the way black don't mean you can run up and down on the court and not get arrested. Spike Lee was Spike Lee. You remain Drake.
Well, we're going to have a conflict here because I would say congrats to anyone who spends one real ounce of energy getting mad at Colin Cowherd or Drake. It's about the games, people.
Well,
it's about gamesmanship and not gamesmanship. It's about entertainment value and selling and sparking drama and making it sizzle.
Okay,
Drake's not hurting anybody. He is a clown. He's acting like a clown. If you're really getting mad, if you really think that had anything to do with the outcome, like when I heard the Bucks coach make those comments, what did I text you? He's probably right, but you know what the proper response is there? We got enough problems. We don't got to worry about the guy.
We got enough problems. Yep. Well, all right. To go a step further, though, congrats to Baker. I'm just going to say, man, leave Colin alone. Just leave him alone. I get that's what he does and everything else, but you cannot fight these small fights. And I know somebody's going to come after me, and I don't care. I'll probably just block you anyway. I don't care anymore. To me, it's small. Why deal with the small fish, man? There's some bigger fish to fry way up ahead. Let that dude be who he is. Please leave that boy alone.
One more question before we continue. Isn't our trophy or Jordan face philosophy / theory, isn't that kind of the roots of the congrats segment?
Yes, it is. I think it plays perfectly off of it. I think it works. It does, because that's where our life is. There's no middle ground anymore. There's no gray area. You're either a winner or a loser.
Congrats to anyone that's really mad about Odell Beckham. Yes, he could have endeared himself to his new organization and his teammates by showing up even if he didn't practice. Yes, as Freddie Kitchen said, he probably missed some installation of the offense. But go ahead and give Odell Beckham a big F for April and May. We'll see you in September through December. That's what counts. The guy's been in the league for 6 years. Get a life.
And I leave this podcast on this. Congrats to Zach Jackson for just getting blocked by Tony Grossi. Konnichiwa, Zach.
The guy who on the radio this week said that Belichick had to draft a right-footed punter because the Browns signed a left-footed punter after the draft. Math matters. Be good, folks. Hey, American Fireworks. They'll sell you a lot of fireworks. They're open online all the time, 24/7 at AmericanFireworks.com. They're right there in Hudson. Go to the new Honeymoon Grill. It's big. It's beautiful. Check it out. Go to A2ZPodcast.com and catch up. Leave a review. Spread the word. We love you. We got something special cooked up here. I got to find out what the schedules are going to be. We got a special edition coming up. We got some interviews lined up. And Dre, glad we took the time. Talk to you guys next time on A to Z.
Konnichiwa, Zach Jackson. No Tony Grossi for you.